My name is Rajesh Dalal, and I would like to have a dialogue with you all. By training, I'm a chemical engineer from Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur. But I've lived a very different kind of life. What I'm going to tell you may perhaps interest you. Like all of you, I joined the university at an age of around 17. I was young, full of hope, wanting to live life fully. And there I was in the middle of a highly competitive, stressful program of academic study. And I began to wonder, is this what I want to do with my life? Studying stress and strain of matter when I myself was going through a lot of stress and strain. And I began to ask, what is a human being to do? I was watching all around me. My friends too were rather confused. We were supposed to be very bright with a great future, but the future was just very dim. It was far away. The present was rather boring. Attending classes, a lot of which meant very little to me personally. A lot of stress, sudden quizzes, a lot of competition, comparing oneself with one's friends, and sometimes that even affected our friendship. And this conflict, certain amount of anxiety about the future, set me asking many questions. The first thing I did was I began to take courses in psychology. I wanted to know, why was there conflict? Why was I afraid? What am I going to become? And what is happiness? Sure, I wanted happiness. But what is happiness? And is it a creative happiness where there is joy in life, or is just some kind of pleasure? And pleasure, after a while, if you have noticed, starts becoming dull. It becomes repetitive, it becomes mechanical. And then you keep looking for new pleasure. And also, what does it mean to be intelligent? I always had this feeling that I wanted to really be highly intelligent. And there was a part of me which was also wanting to be a good human being. What is goodness? So these were some of the questions. And a point came when I felt that psychology didn't really have the answers to my questions. I became interested in philosophy. I studied Burton, Russell. I studied various Western philosophers and also Eastern philosophers. I went into Zen. I was all the time asking, what do I do with my life? I have so much energy. And different people were telling different things. Some were wanting me to be secure, to get a good job and settle down, marry, have children, settle down. That kind of a life somewhere was not appealing to me. And then there was this whole thing of, can I do some adventure? So went on trekking, climbing rocks, and traveling in different parts of the world. So that was a dream too. And then there was this sense of wanting to do some good to the world. So in what way can I be of help to this world? The world was so troubled, so many wars, economic crisis. Right now too, right? You're all, I'm sure, very concerned with what's happening in the US. jobs are fewer. After slogging so hard, getting a degree, what are you going to do? Will you get a job? Will it be a good job? And what is a good job? Is money enough to make a job good? Or you also want some inner satisfaction, some inner meaning to what you are doing. So what is meaning? What will give meaning to your life? Those were my questions too. What will make my life a meaningful life? And religion, I saw, had become a dead affair. Going to some church or some temple, doing some rituals, having some beliefs in some fairy world. Surely all that had very little meaning. So what was a religion? What is this whole world of the spirit? And why is it that a human being is always dissatisfied? Always dissatisfied, wanting more, more, more. So, is more television, more internet, more mobile phones with more fanciful gadgets, is that going to make me happy? I had my doubts. And the work was also becoming mechanical. The academic program was becoming mechanical. So why do things become mechanical so easily? Why am I not able to sustain a creative interest in something? Was part of my concerns. I don't know whether you feel a similar thing. Life often becomes rather superficial. You have a girlfriend, you have a boyfriend, you have some fun, but deep down there's a sense of incompleteness, some kind of sense that I have not yet discovered a passion, a love, in which I can give my all. I sought some kind of inner contentment through reading, through participating in sports, through people and my relationships with them, but I was discontented. Education is not just filling the mind with a lot of information. Too much information really dulls the mind. It doesn't allow us to question. So it's very important to question and to carefully observe, to listen. These are the tools of learning. So to be able to listen, does it mean to listen? Not only listen to sounds, but listen to words. What is the meaning of those words? We normally think that we know what a word means. Let's take a word democracy or a word freedom. The word has depths and depths of meaning. The word freedom at one level means I have the freedom to do whatever I want to do. But surely, if I am full of compulsions, freedom would then mean freedom to express my compulsions. So, as long as I am full of inner compulsions, and I haven't listened to my compulsions, I don't know why I am caught up in so many desires. Where is freedom? When I am free of those compulsions, then there is freedom. Then the next question is, do I have the freedom to listen, or I am so full of opinions? Have you observed how the elders are often full of opinions? You want to say something to them, they just don't listen. So they can't learn. The minds are closed, blocked. So education must unblock our minds. It must allow us to feel life. It must allow us to experience life as it is. I think our education has become too much information oriented, and also it's examination oriented, it is job oriented, it is productivity oriented. This is only a very small part of education. I feel education should really prepare us to live a beautiful life, should prepare us to feel responsible for the planet. It should make us relate with nature, relate with people differently. What value is having a lot of memory stuffed into you, which you can bring out, recall during the time of an exam, and ultimately deep down you are inwardly an uneducated human being, ruthless with people, miserable, confused, as a lot of people are, isn't it? And also, it is educated people, so-called educated people, I should say, who have waged wars, who have killed, who have destroyed, who have exploited. That's not education. I would rather that somebody be living in nature, not knowing too much, but have a sense of joy, have an understanding of the complex patterns of birth, death, sex. So understanding of human existence, I think, should be an essential part of education. How do you change the system of education? I think the first thing to realize is don't depend on systems for education, real education. The individual, when he or she depends on a system, then he will only fit in to whatever the system provides. It's your responsibility. Your education is in your hands. Observe carefully what's taking place around you. If you wait for the system to change, you're going to go out of the university not deeply educated. Read authors who have given thought to deep issues. Meet passionate people. Engage with them. Ask them questions. Relate to living things, not just to your books and your assignments. Observe birds, observe trees, observe animals. How do they live? Look within yourself. What are your real questions? The questions which the system is giving importance to, are they really your questions? Or you're really interested in asking, how do I relate well with my girlfriend? Why am I in conflict? Why do I get bored so easily? Things which I love to do, the system is tying me to something different. And how do I meet that thing which is different? Because otherwise I'm in conflict with the system. These are your questions. So that's one part. When you are older, when you have really educated yourself, and you are interested to change the system, how do you change a system? I think the most important thing to understand is that the system out there is a result of the system within the mind. Within our mind, there is a pattern of thinking. If that pattern of thinking doesn't change, the system out there is not going to change. So what is this pattern? This pattern, as it is today, is success is important, money is important, power is important. As long as this thinking is dominant, the education system will remain the way it is. We are not allowing children or youth to experiment and make mistakes because we want them to be successful. What's wrong with failure? Really, this is a very important question. Unless you make great attempts and allow yourself to fail, how are you going to discover anything really new? So this idea that failure is bad needs to be seriously examined. The person who has the capacity to fail and make great attempts are the people we want. Similarly, this idea that we must be successful in society. What is successful? Success in the eyes of whom? Right? Are you successful in living? So I think our whole way of thinking has to undergo a radical change. And if you have that change in the inner structure, the inner system of thought, then by communicating that, you can bring about a change in the system out there. You need to change the whole curriculum. The curriculum today is too much concerned with techniques and technology. It's not concerned with the human being. The curriculum must be connected to the student, to the issues that the student is facing. Right now, we are just thrusting things on the student which may have no relevance to his deeper questions of the now. We need to have a very different relationship between the student and the teacher. Right now, the relationship is of authority. The teacher is one who knows, and the student is one who has to listen to the teacher. But is that so? Aren't student and teacher both learning? Or the teacher has nothing to do with learning, he just has to teach. So can teaching be separated from learning? Or the teacher has to create an atmosphere of learning that can only happen when the teacher himself is learning. So can there be a learning together with the student and the teacher? We need to introduce ways of teaching learning which are open-ended. We need to ask questions which are divergent questions to which nobody knows the answer. But we are too much concerned with convergent questions of which some people are privileged because they have just had a few years of knowledge, and the student then feels a bit inferior. So I think the whole education system can be radically changed. A lot of thought has gone into it, but we are so success oriented, we are afraid to fail. So when you are afraid to fail, fear decides. And today, fear is making us not take the adventure of creating a new way of living, a new way of educating, a new way of learning. Things are changing dramatically, right? Whatever you know today is no longer secure in the future. So don't seek security in knowledge. Knowledge is changing day by day. Your security is in your capacity to learn. Your security is in intelligence. So discover what it means to be intelligent now. Discover what it means to face an uncertainty all around you. So the ability to live in the middle of uncertainty is the capacity which will give you intelligence, and that intelligence will make you secure. Right? Also, after all, what are the factors of insecurity? Let's explore this. One of the biggest insecurity for human beings is other human beings. Right? Understanding the nature of the human mind is very important, because they are your factors of insecurity. So understanding your relationship with people and people's relationship with you. If in the ways in which you function, if you are creating conflict for others, if you are creating pain for others, if you are creating anxiety for people, then that anxiety, that pain, that conflict is going to be reflected back on you. So you have to find a way of relating intelligently with people. There is security in right relationship. There is also security when you understand fear. We are so afraid, and nobody has educated us to learn about fear. We are afraid of old age, we are afraid of disease, we are afraid of failure, we are afraid of the image that society has of us, we are afraid of low grades. Why is there so much fear? Because fear creates insecurity. So, shall we explore fear a little bit? Fear has to do with a thought of the future. Fear is a thought. And if we know what it means to live fully in the now, then fear will recede. Have you noticed how so many times you are imagining things which is creating insecurity, and reality turns out to be very different from your imagination? So why do we imagine things? Can we take things as they come with a quality of mind which is carefully observing, with intelligence? Then insecurity is largely something created by us, by not knowing how to think correctly. Well, we need memory. Without memory, I wouldn't be able to speak. And all the things that we have created is based on knowledge. Knowledge is a record of all our experiences and all our discoveries in memory. Computers are based on memory. So memory surely is a part of learning and education. But what is thinking? What is reflecting? What is investigating? If these questions are not part and parcel of our education, then I am just accepting what somebody has investigated. I'm just a passive recipient of what the scientists have done. So I think it's very important in education that experimentation, inquiry, exploration is encouraged. The other thing is, what is the right place of memory in living? Memory, after all, is the past. And when the past becomes too important, it interferes with the present. And after all, experiencing is in the now. So we need to experience things afresh. We mustn't allow the past to interfere with the now. When we have too much knowledge, when we are full of opinions, when we have too many ideas of everything, the innocence of learning diminishes. Right?
Yes.
You need innocence, you need humility to learn. And the quality of not knowing, curiosity, a certain playfulness are extremely important if learning has to be alive. So, memory must be put in its right place. That's a really important question, is it not, for all of us? Not only the students, but the teachers, and later on when we go out into the world. What does one do with one's time? What does one do with the self? Let's see what we are actually doing with our time. By and large, if you observe, either we are concentrating on some goal, trying to solve a certain problem, and so we spend time achieving certain results. And this is the process of building the self. In this process of achievement, you feel you are important. So we are trying to be important, and time then becomes very important, precious, and with that comes a lot of tensions, pressures. So that's one side, concentration. The other side is we try to forget ourselves. We try to get absorbed in something. So we want a lot of pleasure. So what are we actually doing with our time? We're getting absorbed and get drunk, or get into a passive mode of watching a game of football, or we are absorbed in some drug, in some pleasurable activity. Now, absorption is a state where thought, time, the self are not important. So either we make them very important through concentration, or we try to drown ourselves, drown the self into a kind of unconsciousness. So absorption is an unconsciousness. Now, is there something entirely different from becoming utterly unconscious or becoming too self-conscious? Interesting question, isn't it? Have you ever asked this? Is there a way of paying attention, which means to see that our brain is totally gathered, that we are looking at something with all our being, listening to something with all our being. It may be something out there, a bird, a tree. We are not absorbed in the bird. We are watching the bird. When you so watch, or when you listen to some sounds, the brain is alive. We are attentive. So, attention is very different from concentration or absorption. And most of us are attentive from time to time, but do we pay attention to the within? Which means, are we attentive to the inward nature of consciousness itself? What is the mind? Is it noisy, full of thoughts, full of desires, greed, fears, anger, violence, boredom? So whatever states that are there within, Uh, are we judging them, either condemning them or justifying them, or we have discovered the art of paying attention? So we are paying attention to the within. Have you noticed when you are really attentive, the mind is very quiet. It's not dull. It's not absorbed. So our education has emphasized concentration. Concentration is putting all your energy on a particular subject. And you will notice that when you are concentrating, you are excluding the rest of the world. So there is constantly a certain tension, a conflict, when the rest of the world wants to come in, but you are excluding it. So concentration often is linked to conflict, though it brings an achievement, which builds the self. I think that's a very important question, the future. The way things are, technology is becoming more and more important. Things are changing very fast. As knowledge is increasing, we are able to come up with more and more capable gadgets. And unfortunately, we are all becoming gadget minded. Just see how much time we are spending pressing buttons on mobiles, on laptops, on computers, and how much time we are sitting before screens, frames. We are ourselves getting framed. Things are becoming more and more defined. And we are conforming. We are conforming to patterns. And the whole advertisement industry, the media, are very cleverly exploiting our tendency to get hooked. And all this is happening largely because we are not aware of ourselves. We are not aware of our bodies. We are not aware of our thought processes. We are afraid to remain with uncertainty, with questions to which we don't have an answer. Everything has become quick fix. Do we see that? Do you see that our capacity to pay attention is getting very limited? Very quickly we judge. And we say, oh, this I'm not interested in. We don't even listen. A certain kind of superficiality in conduct is also happening. So, if this is the present, that's what our future is going to be. So if we want a different future, what we do now is extremely important. How we face the complex issues which are within us and which are in society out there. There's a crisis. I don't know if you're willing to see this. Or we just want to dodge it for the moment. It's too much for us. And then the crisis is going to mount, as it is. I'm afraid youth have a very important role to play in shaping this planet. I'm sure you are all aware that hundreds of species of life is being wiped out every month. What has taken millions of years for nature to create, and such diversity, such beauty, such richness, our existence, our concern for comfort, our concern for just having more and more goods with which we are filling up our emptiness, our boredom, is taking a big toll on life on this planet. So, what kind of future do you want? The new generations, are we going to leave behind a polluted planet? Are we going to leave behind a society which is going towards mindless entertainment? Or is the youth going to bring about a thoughtful, a sensitive, an intelligent way of living, where the young are educated in a totally different environment, where they can be themselves, discover who they are, have an atmosphere where there is affection, where there is intelligent stimulation, not mindless stimulation, where there is an adventure to living. And it is the youth, I think, as they grow up, if they feel responsible, if they feel connected, they will be able to do something different. Otherwise, what is the future?